Welcome to the Trellix Spotlight series. My name is Nick, and I will be your host. Today's session will focus on an overview of data loss prevention. This webinar will be recorded. If you prefer not to participate in the recorded session, please feel free to disconnect at this time. A link to today's recorded presentation will be emailed to all registered attendees. This webinar is a brief overview covering common use cases and scenarios regarding this topic. It is not intended to be all-encompassing. If assistance is needed, please contact Trellix Technical Support. If you have questions during the webinar, please type them in the Q&A window. This webinar may run longer or shorter based on your participation, and we recommend asking as many questions as you can to make the most of this series. If the Q&A window is not displayed, click the tab at the bottom of your session window and click on the Q&A icon. We will answer the questions during the final section of this webinar. If you experience any audio issues during the webcast, please drop and attempt to reconnect. Our speakers today are Jagannathan A. and Praveen S. Jagannathan is a staff customer success engineer. Jagan has over 13 years with Trellix supporting data loss prevention and encryption. Praveen is also a staff customer success engineer. Praveen has over 8 years with Trellix supporting data loss prevention and encryption. Ladies and gentlemen, Jagan and Praveen.
Thanks, Nick. Hello all. Welcome to Trellix Data Loss Prevention Spotlight Series. I am Jagan, a staff support engineer. Topics for today's session are DLP overview, Trellix DLP product suite, products functionality, key features, and protection vectors. Let's get started with DLP overview. Before I move on further, let me brief about data loss prevention. Detection and prevention of critical data loss are the main functionality of data loss prevention. Does not matter where the data is and if it is sent knowingly or unknowingly. Increasing business and regularity demands are forcing the organizations to ensure data security across the enterprise. To keep the information safe and compliant, you need adaptable and complete data security. Trellix Data Loss Prevention offers universal data protection across endpoints, networks, and the cloud. The open platform Trellix EPO software makes it simple in managing the policies. Trellix DLP customers can easily extend current enterprise DLP policies to cloud. With more data being created and accessed by different users, it is more important to have a set of consistent DLP policies that protect data from any type of leakage vectors. Usually, the confidential data can leave the enterprise network via different channels, such as applications, physical devices, network protocols, etc. Every day, one another customer fall victim to massive data loss. We frequently hear such news. Everyone wants to protect their data easily at the same time effectively. When I say effectively, we cannot just restrict all the files and applications from all the enterprise users. We should have a plan what needs to be protected from whom and when. For that, the product should have a mechanism to define sensitive data or information. To meet such requirement, Trellix has DLP solution. So with that, let's take a quick view at ePolicy Orchestrator console and see how DLP looks. So once you log into the ePolicy Orchestrator, just click menu. Under menu, you can see data protection. Under data protection, there are many components available. Okay, so let me explain one by one. So let's start with DLP getting started. DLP getting started helps in first time configuration. If you are new to Trellix DLP, the DLP getting started feature enables you to configure any of the Trellix DLP products quickly and enforce the policies immediately after the installation. This options helps us to complete the configuration. So the first one is license. Once you purchase the license, you can get the license key from software manager from ePolicy Orchestrator, or you can get it from the product download site. So just key in the license key here, then you can see the duration, which is type. Okay, so perpetual, if it is a short-term license, you can see the duration here. So the next one is shared location. So in the shared location, we can enter the share path, wherein once the rule is violated, the original file will be saved as evidence. So the original file will be replicated to the SharePoint either using the dedicated user account or the system account, Windows system account. So it is an optional. You can choose one as per the company requirement. So let's say now I'm going to select Windows system account. Okay, so the next option is classification. So in the classification tab, we have a feasibility to define sensitive information. There are predefined classifications to meet the current industry standard and requirement. They can be used while creating the rules. The DLP agent identifies and tracks sensitive content with the defined classifications. So in that case, so I'm going to add one of the classifications here. So let's use Indian PII. So I selected Indian PII and then click next, which is vectors. In this vectors, we have to select the rule. So here I'm going to select network share protection, printer and removable storage. And then click next here, enforce mode. So usually there are three different mode available. One is just monitor. Second, monitor and show notification to users. And the last one is restrict access to data if your environment and show notification to users. So in this case, the data access will be blocked. At the same time, the user will get a notification saying your organization blocks access to this data. So now I selected coach, which means monitor and show notification to the end users. And then click next, which is the exceptions. So here we need to select the user. So you can select the individual user or add user group. So in this case, I'm going to select the individual user. So when I click add user, it is going to access the Active Directory structure. So I have an Active Directory server configured here already, which is the one. Okay, now I can see the user details. I'm going to select one user. We can select one or more users here. Okay, so click OK. Now we can see two users selected here. Okay, so now click finish. When I click finish, we can see it is applied. Okay. Now the next option is DLP settings. DLP settings here you can add additional license. So let's say you have purchased additional license. Okay, so you can add it here. Or you do not have perpetual license, you have a short-term license, and now you have purchased the perpetual license, and then you can update it here. And the next one is shared storage path. So this has been configured already. If you want to change it, yes, you can change it. At the same time, the account, which account to be used, again, you can change it if required, or else let's continue with the system account. So we also have additional options here, which is specific to use case. Okay, so here I'm going to talk about Sky High Security Cloud Server. So with this option, the incidents can be imported from the Sky High server to the on-prem EPO. So in the on-prem EPO itself, you can see the Sky High incidents. And there is one more option called backup and restore. So the backup option, using this, you can backup the complete DLP policy configuration details and maintain it. So in case if something unexpected thing happened, you want to restore it, yes, you can restore it by clicking restore from file. So if you click restore file, you get an option to select the backup file, select it, and then restore it. So let's move on to the next option, which is classification. So the classification, there are predefined classifications, the one which we selected in the getting started. Okay, so still we can customize the classifications. You can add additional classification as per the company requirement. You can use keywords or dictionaries. Okay, so and then create it here. Let's move on to the next one, DLP Incident Manager. The Incident Manager displays the incidents being generated for the rules violated. Review incidents and analyze scan results to see potential policy violation. So the first tab, what we see here is analytics. So here the first one shows top 10 rule sets, top 10 incidents types, top 10 users. And we can also see the trend, weekly trend. Okay, so the classification, top 10 classifications and destinations. Also, there is a option available to view as per the, the, the data in use or motion, data at rest, which is network DLP, data at rest endpoint. So there are two different data discovery available. One is network discover and another one is endpoint discovery. The next tab is incident list. So here we can see the list of incidents being generated. Okay, so here is the list. Even this list can be grouped by types. Let's say if you want to view the incidents by computer name, yes, just click the computer name so that we can see the incidents generated by each computer. You can also select incident type so that you can see the incident types and as well as the count against the incident type, how many incidents are generated. And there are many other options available. You can select as per your requirement. We can also select severities. So as per the severity, the numbers will be displayed here. So let's say you have a huge number of incidents in your database and you want to purge the oldest incidents. So here in the incident task, we have an option called purge incidents. So using this task, we can purge the oldest incidents and then unwanted incidents. So let's move on to the next one. We also have other options like DLP operations. So, so the each and every operations can be tracked from here. And then if you want, you can purge them as well. We also have other options like case management. So each incident is generated and received in the EPO. And then if you want to escalate it, yes, you can escalate it to the other department like SOC, Security Operations Center, or human resource. With that, they can take a proper action. That is from the case management. Okay, there is another option called DLP Help Desk. The DLP Help Desk option provides few options, which is client bypass key. The client bypass key can be generated and used to bypass the DLP agent so that when the DLP agent is bypassed, it will not take block action. It will just monitor without notifying the end user. Release from quarantine key. Yes, using this key, you can release the files being quarantined. And last option is uninstall key. In case you want to uninstall DLP agent manually, yes, at this point, you can choose this option and generate the uninstall key. Using that uninstall key, we can remove the DLP agent from the client machines. So apart from this, we also have options like queries and reports. Okay, in the queries and reports, we can see all the default queries. The default queries provide the status of the agent or the policy or number of incidents generated, all those. And these queries and reports are available in the dashboard as well. Just click dashboard. Here we have a predefined dashboards available. Okay, so we can take a look at the DLP operation summary. So in the operation summary, we can see the trend, DLP number of operational events per day. So each day how the trend is going on, we can see that. And we can also see the agent version. What is the agent version and how many machines are running with that particular agent version. So as such, we have many options available in the dashboards. And when I was talking about the queries and reports, if you think is there an option to export the queries and reports? Yes, the queries and reports can be exported to different file formats. One is CS, XML, HTML, PDF, and CST as well. So these are the 4 file formats supported currently. Let's move on to the next slide. Trellix DLP product suite. Trellix data loss prevention is a suite of products that protects against data loss by identifying and securing data within online or offline network. Trellix DLP is not a single package. multiple packages are involved in it. Each packages are specialized in different functionality, but each of them scan and protect the data by reading the content. So the first one is Trellix DLP endpoint. DLP endpoint inspects enterprise users' actions on and off the network. So in case any rule violation is noticed, yes, it takes appropriate actions. DLP monitor. DLP monitor appliance learn about the quantity and types of data transferred across the network. The DLP monitor does not block or change network traffic, so you can integrate it into production environment without impacting the live traffic. The next one is DLP prevent. DLP prevent is a appliance again. It protects corporate emails by integrating with mail transfer agent gateways or the smart host. It blocks content violation by integrating with ICAP compliant web proxies. The last one is DLP Discover. The DLP Discover collect inventory of all data. It also inspects content in files and database tables to identify sensitive data. So with that, I'm going to hand over the session to my colleague Praveen Selvakumar, who will continue from the next slide. Thank you.
Thank you, Jagan. Hello, all. My name is Praveen. I'm the DLP staff engineer with Trellix. The next topic we're going to discuss about the product functionality in DLP. So let's start with the DLP endpoint. With DLP endpoint, we can restrict the access to the PNP devices, hard disk, or any other external devices. We can create classification based on sensitive information such as PCI, PII, or PHI, or with any other vectors in order to protect the leakage of the data. When the data is protected, we can also create a justification pop-up which will mandate the user to provide a valid justification before the data is sent out. Let me demonstrate how a protection rule works. In this, I'm going to go to Policy Manager, where the rule set lies, and inside the rule set, we will be creating the rules. On this example, I've created a web post rule, which means if I'm going to upload the data, what I've configured here, that is under classification, I've configured a classification called as keyword. And if I'm going to upload this specific data to any website, the reaction is set to block, and we will be capturing the incident. So in order to check what classification I've created, you can go to the classification tab. And under this tab, you will see the classification which I've created. I've created a basic thing based on the keywords where if the document contains a keyword called as confidential, and if it is uploaded via the browser, then it should be blocked. Now, let me open my test machine. This is my test machine where I've already enforced the rule. So here I'm gonna go to the dlptest.com. This is where we used to test the uploads. And I'm gonna post an HTTP post. So I'm gonna select the file, and this would be the file. And once I select this file and once I upload it, you will receive a pop-up stating that it has been blocked. So now as you could see, when the file is trying to upload from the local machine to the post, to the HTTP post, the content would be extracted and it will be scanned. It will be validated against the rule engine of DLP, and the file will be blocked. And it will get an incident on the same where, let me open my APO console. So if you check the incident, before going to the incident, let me send the incident to the APO server. Okay, that should do it. Now let me go back to the APO console. And still not, there you go. Okay. We are able to see that incident over here. So, and also you could see here, right? It is matching the content which is present there. So you were able to see what is the match string that it has been matched. All right, now let's move on. Next topic would be Trellix DLP monitor. Uh, like endpoint, which can be installed on the user's machine, monitor devices are an hardware or a VM. If the hardware or if it's an hardware for the data traffic to flow, we need to configure the span or tap port, or when it is in VM, we need to enable the promiscuous mode for monitor to work. Based on the traffic which are received, the monitor devices will break down the traffic, extract the data, and scan it against the rule which is configured. Thus, we would be receiving incident like the incident has been monitored. This specific traffic has been monitored. Additionally, we can also enable the capture feature, which is available on monitor for forensic analysis. Monitor also supports multiple protocols such as SMTP, IMAP, POP3, and others. Okay. Followed by monitor, we move on to the other functionality, which is DLP prevent. The main difference between monitor and prevent is that with prevent, we can block the file upload or the data upload, whereas with monitor, we cannot. Prevent would be integrated to a web or email gateway, which will send the ICAP or SMTP traffic. Without any of these traffic, Prevent will be a standalone hardware or a VM. Only these web gateway or the email server should send the traffic, route the traffic to Prevent. When a web traffic is received in ICAP protocol, Prevent will analyze the traffic, send a response to the web gateway, based on which the web gateway will block that specific traffic. Similarly, when the SMTP traffic is sent, Prevent will scan the traffic, and based on the smart host which is configured on our policy, it will send to that respected smart host, which is nothing but the email gateway. And thus, we are preventing the sensitive data leakage. And even with Prevent, we have the capture feature, which we could enable for forensic and policy building. I could show you ICAP request of how it would be triggered on a Prevent box. So let me just show you how it can be triggered. The rule for preventer will be configured on the same page as the endpoint. So if you could see here, under Policy Manager, I've already created a rule for preventer with the same configuration. So if you see here, the second role I've created as prevent test, which has the same classification criteria, and the reaction is set to block under prevent option over here. And the network DLP option is selected over here, which means it's applied only for the NDLP box. That is nothing but the prevent box. Now, let me open my client machine. All right. So over here on this mission, I've enabled the proxy to route to my ICAP server. So once I've upload any data to on this mission, it will route the traffic to my ICAP server, and then the ICAP server, I've configured it to forward to my prevent box, where the data will be scanned and it will be blocked. So let's see. I'm gonna click on HTTP post, file upload. I'm gonna select the same file here. So you can see here, right? The DLP prevent was blocked. Earlier, you saw just server error, which means endpoint, it blocks on the browser level, but here prevent, it goes through the network and it is getting blocked. Now, let's see on the incident manager. It has not sent the incident yet. Let me send a wake up call to the prevent box. And let me go to incident manager. Not yet. And the wake up call again. Oh, okay. Please got it. So here you can see it has triggered the keyword test document, and it is giving you the data and where it is uploaded to. So this would be a prevent incident. All righty, let's move on. The next functionality would be Trellix DLP Discover. For DLP Discover, we need to install the package on a server operating system like the DLP endpoint. The purpose of Discover is to scan the data which is at rest, and thus we could collect the inventory of all the data which is available on that file server or any location. With DLP Discover, we can inject its crawler in order to scan the database to find the sensitive content which is present in any of the tables on that database. We can also move or copy the file from one assembly share to another with the help of DLP Discover scans. It also supports Microsoft Rights Management Services. We can also create the rules based on fingerprinting, and we can fingerprint the files which are present on the UNC path. Thus, by fingerprinting these files, when these files are sent outside the environment, it can be protected using the protection rules. So that's it with the functionality. Next, we can discuss about the key features with DLP. We support protecting the data transfer through different mediums, such as removable storage devices, cloud, email, and others. We would be covering most of them where the users would be uploading the documents to. We can create application fingerprinting to fingerprint the files. We have different types of fingerprinting. One is like application, box, location, SharePoint, and web fingerprinting. With these, we can fingerprint the data or the file, which can be prevented by the associated protection rule. So once the data is fingerprinted, we can create the rule and we can just add these fingerprinting classification. And when these data are uploaded by any means, a DLP will scan them. It will analyze that this data is fingerprinted and it will be blocked or monitored based on the configuration in the role. We can also create a local scanning to check the data at rest, which are in user's machine. There are two different types of discovery. One is with endpoint discovery, which is a DLPE, and other one is DLP discover. The difference is with endpoint discover, we cannot scan the server operating system, but with DLP discover, we can do both. Along with that, we can also create rules to block the file uploads on cloud applications such as OneDrive, Box, and others. We could also customize the notification pop-ups to increase the security awareness within the users. Since all the DLP products will report to EPO, it acts as a centralized management console where you can just review all the data which has been captured. Moving on, DLP endpoint is compatible with both Windows and Mac operating system. We can restrict the data which can be copied to the devices based on the sensitive contents. That is, if you have any keywords in specific particular environment where you want to block only those sensitive documents to be transferred to the devices, you can do the same. You can also block or make the devices in read-only mode based on your requirement. When we block the device using the PNP rule, we would be blocking the driver for that specific device, thus preventing the device to even list it under Explorer. We can also block the Bluetooth or smartphone and other devices as well. Though we block the mobile devices, we would still have options where you can just charge the devices. We also support Citrix ZenApp devices, as well as we provide options to block TrueCrypt devices as well. We could also prevent executable which can be run on a removable media devices, which could be potentially a malicious file. We can also add exceptions on the rules if you have the virus protection enabled. I could show you an example on how it can be blocked with a file access rule. Let me show you with an example now. I'm going to show you how to block the sensitive content which can be transferred to the USB devices based on our configuration, and the other devices such as the PNP and the removable storage rule. What is the difference between them? and also the removable file access rule. That is when we execute any exe files as an example from the USB, how the DLP will behave for that specific rule. So I open my APU console. Here I've already assigned the rule. Let me show the rule first. So this is the rule I've created. As of now, under this rule set, you have the sensitive data copy block, which is when you transfer any sensitive data based on your configuration, it will be blocked. So here I've selected a classification called as keyword. And in this classification, I have the keyword which is confidential. So if a document contains a kind of confidential keyword, and if you are transferring that specific file to the USB, then it will be blocked. Anything apart from that will be allowed. Now I'm going to show you that. So here I have two files on my client machine. The policy is already enforced. And when I right click on this file, which has the confidential data inside it, and when I send it to the USB, you can see there is a prompt which says like it has been blocked. Now, when I go to the specific USB, I can see the data is not available because it is blocked. Now, I'll copy the non-sensitive data. In this file, we do not have the word confidential in it. So if I copy the same file, as you could see, the file has been copied to the USB. So this is how you prevent the sensitive data copy to the USB based on the configuration. Now, let me show you what happens when we block the devices completely. So there are two types of blocking when it comes to the devices. One we call it as removable storage block. Another one is called as plug and play block. Let me show you the difference between them. First, let me enable the removable storage rule. So in this, I've created a default rule which will say that any USB devices or any removable storage devices, it has to be blocked. We have enabled that. Let me save it. And whenever you do any modification to the rule set, please make sure that we apply the policy. So whenever we apply the policy, the revision ID, it changes. So it is revision 9 as of now. Let me open that policy again and let me show you. And if you could check the revision ID, it's 10 now. So which means there is no pending changes, which means the policy has been applied successfully. Now I'm gonna enforce this policy. So as soon as the enforcement happens, you need to check on the DLP client console, and you can see that a revision ID would be reflecting here. So we got a pop-up which says like the device has been blocked. So now let me try to open the device, and you will get access is denied because we have blocked it using removable storage tool. Now, let me show you the difference between removable storage and the plug and play rule. For which, let me go back to the APU again. We need to modify the rule set. Let me disable this one. And let me enable the plug and play rule. So on this plug and play rule, if you could check my configuration, I've selected mass storage devices. So here you can either use the default built-in ones which we have given, or you can just check. You can just create a definition based on your own. So just to show you that we can create any custom definition, I've created one over here, and the reaction is set to block. And since we have performed the modification, I'm going to apply the policy now. So it's 10. Now, after applying, it should be 11. So as soon as I enforce the policy, we can still see the USB on the Explorer, right? It will say it's been blocked and the device is not listing in the Explorer anymore. Because when it comes to plug and play, it blocks the driver level, hence you will not able to see the device on the Explorer. When it comes to the removable storage rule, it blocks the access to the device. That's the difference between the both the rules. So now let me go back. Let me show you what happens with respect with the file access rule. For which, let me disable this one. And let me enable the last one. So on this rule, what I have given is if it is any removable storage devices and if the file extension belongs to one of these, that is compressed or executable, script files or system files, then the LP should not allow that execution. So let me click on save and let me go ahead and apply the policy. I've applied the policy now. Let me enforce it. Now, as you could see, the device is here. But since on the device we have the exe file which is available, it's showing you the prompt. When I run this exe file, it will give you the Windows error stating you are not authorized to run. So this is the difference between the device tools some of the device tools which we saw. So and now we can just move on to the next functionality. With Discover, it doesn't stop with the inventory scan. We can check whether the files in a specific UNC path is classified or not, which means whether the file is fingerprinted or not. Discover also has document registration scan, with which we can copy an entire file and move it to the reg docs. Reg doc is kind of a repository for the files where the entire file holds the sensitive contents and not just some contents in the file. If the user is trying to upload these files and we could just block them. For example, if the user knows some advanced pattern or a specific keyword which the IT has been configured and removes those contents from the file and then uploads the rest, even then DLP could block the file because it has the complete signatures of the file. By running the remediation scan, we could perform actions such as copy, move the file from one SMB share to another. We also support integration with the rights management service in order to apply the protection to the files. Discover could also automate the process to find the blank files, determine the permission, and listing files that can be changed within a specific time range. We also support optical character recognition, which is the OCR feature with Discover, by which we can check whether there are any sensitive contents on the image file. Next, we can discuss about DLP protection vectors. We have a data protection vector and device control vectors. Under data protection and device control, we have multiple rules which can be configured based on your requirement. For example, if you would like to block an upload through web browser, you need to create a web protection rule. Likewise, if you need to block an email upload, then you need to create an email rule which will block the email transfer. Likewise, we have different rules under device control, such as local file scan. And under DLP Discover, we have the list of rules as well. Moving on, for more information regarding the product, you can always check the below links. And with this, we conclude the data loss prevention overview. For any concern, you could always reach us. Over to you, Nick.
Thanks, Jagan and Praveen. As a reminder for everyone, Trellix Education Services offers exceptional training to go along with our award-winning products. If you would like to learn more, please visit the website listed on your screen to see all of our offerings. Now let's get our Q&A session started. I see we have several questions, but it's not too late to add your question. Please type it in the Q&A window to submit. Additionally, take a moment to fill out the survey. Your feedback and suggestions are always appreciated. Let's assume I have a trusted application which DLP should not scan at all. Can I configure such a way to exclude from DLP?
Let me take that, Jagan. Yes, the application can be configured as trusted within the DLP policy. With that, the application will be completely bypassed from the DLP scan.
Got it. Okay, perfect. Thank you for that one as well. Does DLP support secure LDAP?
Yes, we do support secure LDAP. The prerequisite is that the AD has to be configured with LDAP. All we need to do is under registered servers, we need to enable the use SSL option where the AD server is already registered.
Got it. Okay, perfect. Thank you for that one. All right, looks like that's all the time that we had for today. It looks like we got to most of the questions, but there are a few that are a bit more specific. What we'll do is we'll collect those questions and follow up after the webinar is concluded. I want to thank everyone for joining today's webinar, and a big thank you to our presenters, Jagan and Praveen. As a reminder, a link to today's recorded presentation will be emailed to all registered attendees. This concludes today's webinar. Stay safe, everyone.